What's good, y'all? Happy to be back talking hoops again. This Draymond situation with Austin Rivers is getting out of hand. Let's get into it.
Get in these back and forths because, quite honestly, the guys that you usually get into the back and forths with, they become back and forths because there's like a a weight that's like one of them like severely tips something this way, and the other is just like kind of so far down that it kind of pulls you back a little bit. And so, speaking of Austin Rivers, I saw he said he's bewildered and it's ridiculous or what I said. And I just find it interesting that a guy who was the 10th pick in my draft, I was 35, who's on his second act, I'm still on act one, would say such things. He goes, Draymond, it's never been a scorer. Well, Austin, you and I averaged the same amount of points in high school when you were a scorer. I don't know what would qualify Austin Rivers to.
He got a point. He got a point. If we average the same in high school, that means something, right? Because people love to bring up high school, especially these hoopers. We see a lot of them do that. So that's a point.
Speak about scoring when in high school, me and you averaged the same amount of points. And I say high school because that's when you were at your best. That's when Austin Rivers was Austin Rivers. In high school.
That hoop mixtape was crazy. Austin Rivers got one of the best hoop mixtapes.
And so that's why I point out the high school scoring because, I want to make it fair. I want to speak about him when he was at his best. And he was at his best at Winter Park, if I remember correctly. He had ESPN games. Like, that's when he was at his best. When he was faster than everybody and can just put his head down and drive right and get to the rim. And then in college, he was still good. He was very featured at Duke and, had a very big moment, where he hit the three on the wing. Like, you got to give him credit. That's when he was at his best, Yeah. Well, in college, I averaged almost 17 points a game in the Big Ten. Very limited possessions, So I only want to speak about Austin at his best because NBA careers, should he really talk about my NBA career? I don't know that that's the case. I'm still with my first team. He was gone from his first team in 2 years.
I think Draymond has a point here. I know everybody hates Draymond, but he got a good point. A lot of people like to dunk on Draymond, but you got to admit, he has had one of the best NBA careers. To be drafted late in the second round, not super late, but to be drafted in the second round and to not be a guy that's featured to score, but to still stick around in the league this long. How many guys stick around in the league this long that are not scorers? It's very, very rare. It's very rare that a guy is such a good defender that you don't get him off the court because he can't score. That a guy is such a good rebounder that you don't get him off the court because he's not scoring. That's Draymond. That's exactly how good he is at what he does. And I do believe he's discredited a lot.
And so I just sometimes you just should not say something. Always isn't a time to, everything isn't something you should speak on.
You got a point.
And I don't think that was really one for Austin Rivers to be bewildered about and say it's ridiculous because the guy received the biggest bailout in U.S. history prior to President Trump bailing out the airlines when they needed it. Austin Rivers received the biggest bailout in NBA history, in world history, in U.S. history. Received the biggest bailout in U.S. history when his dad gave him $42 million. And I tip my hat to Doc. I pray that one day, it won't be $42 million then because NBA has gone up so much. But I pray that I can give DJ $200 million or give Deuce $250 million. I pray that I can do that one day. So I tip my hat to Doc.
I hate when people talk like that about Bronny. If you were an NBA player as a dad, you would do anything it took to get your son in the league. Yes, you would do whatever it takes to get your son on your team. If you wouldn't, you're a terrible father.
And his incredible bailout of his son and putting good money in his pocket, man. I really tip my cap to him. But, if you listen to the whole thing, the whole 3 minutes of what I spoke about, what a competent basketball mind would have heard was, man, this guy who wanted to do this, who thought he was this, changed his game, and then still became this. because that's what worked best for the team.
I
Never
agree.
shared those gripes because they didn't matter. And by the way, still don't matter because guess what? I don't care. I'm totally fine. My career's been great. So I found it interesting for people who need things to speak on to make it out as if I'm sitting here complaining about my career has been so bad. No, my career has been great, possibly Hall of Fame worthy. And
100%. I hate this argument. This guy, Defensive Player of the Year, 4 championships, obviously a part of that dynasty. He wasn't like a role. He was a role player in a dynasty, but like Draymond Green is the highest tier role player that you can be, if that makes sense. If y'all catch my drift, like we gotta acknowledge the Warriors don't have that dynasty without Draymond. Steph doesn't have his rings without Draymond. Like you gotta acknowledge that.
And I love how people just go take the 15 seconds that they want to take and make it a headline. But I really enjoyed watching Austin Rivers be bewildered by a statement of a guy who was drafted after him, still doing it after he's done, long after he's done.
This is what what Austin Rivers had to say. Relax, fam. I never was sour towards you. Actually, highly complimentary, but here we are. I can't stand by and just let you belittle me and disrespect me and my father for no reason. Who do you think you are? I think you hang out around big bro. We all know who I am. And you may be starting to think you him. You're not. You're just a fan of a friend. Fall back respectfully. I'm not an NBA Hall of Famer, and I don't have your NBA resume, but you need a reality check. Yeah, man. Everybody is on Austin Reeves' bumper. This is crazy.
This is ridiculous. Seriously. Ridiculous. But you know what? I'm going to address it because you crossed the line and you are mad disrespectful for whatever reason. You've been around too long. We both were drafted in the same class. The fact that you don't have the wherewithal to do your due diligence and actually understand I was being highly complimentary of you on the Dan Patrick Show. But it's you, and I shouldn't be surprised. You always act irrationally, emotionally immature, and your anger always puts you in hot water. So here I am having to address a video of you belittling my career. First off, Draymond, we weren't the same players in high school. I don't care about our numbers being similar. I did it at the national level, the top level. Hence why I got the Naismith Award, and I got pretty much every award you can think of in high school. I was ranked #1. You were ranked, I don't know. So cut it out. Next.
This is a little weird to me. And I see people cheering this on, but I'm like, if anybody else brought up high school, like when Brandon Jennings was talking about high school a couple months ago, in response to people asking him to play one-on-one, he's like, I was the best in high school. I did all of this in high school. People laugh at him like, why are you stuck on high school? So it's like, I see people giving this a pass from Austin Rivers, and I don't know. I guess it's a difference here, though. It obviously is a difference because he
college, you actually were you actually a really good college basketball player, but it's hard to compare because I was only there for 6 months, something you could never do. Talk about I was, one of the featured guys. No, I was the guy. I led my team in scoring. I was first team All ACC, freshman player of the year, lottery pick.
Yeah.
Stop. Next. NBA, hey, man, you got it, Dre. I mean, listen, I played in the NBA for more than 10 years, more than a decade, but 11 years, but I'm not a Hall of Famer like you. So I'll give you that credit. All right? You got it. But let's peel back that onion and understand why. Easy, Tiger.
Uh-oh.
Okay? You.
And I want to be clear, Austin Rivers did have a great career at Duke, but I just don't think he ever found the right fit at the NBA level. Like, he's one of those guys that's really good, that can get buckets. If you saw him in a local gym, you'd be like, man, you should be in the league. But when he gets around other league players, you realize he's not all that good.
You have the delusion, the non-wherewithal, the irony of you saying I'm part of the biggest bailout in NBA history. Draymond, you are the luckiest basketball player I think I've ever seen, especially in modern day history. Let's talk about that. You were drafted to a franchise with the Hall of Fame front office, Bob Myers, Hall of Fame coach, Steve Kerr, the greatest shooter of all time, and perhaps the top 5 player of all time, Steph Curry, Hall of Famer. One of the greatest shooters, top 5 shooter of all time, another Hall of Famer, Klay Thompson. The Swiss Army knife himself, the guy who could do a little bit of everything on the floor, Andre Iguodala, another Hall of Famer. I know, keep up, it's a lot of talent. Not to mention one of the most lethal scorers of all time and arguably a top 10 player of all time, Kevin Durant, the same guy you chased off because of this, your mouth, you talk.
This is the thing, though, and I rock with what Austin is saying, but for all those accolades, the All-Stars, the championships, all of that, I think Draymond is an integral piece of that, right? like on one hand, you could say he got lucky because he got drafted to the ideal situation for him, but I don't know, man. That's not really his fault. I think two things can be true at once. He could be lucky he got drafted to this team and he's in this setting, but he also, he played his role very well. It's not like Draymond was a slouch. What he did and what he focused on doing, he was very good at that. So I don't know, man. This one seems a little weird. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments below because this is a little strange, man. It's getting weird.